Many of you may have watched my last video where I covered the Dragon Ball movie Dead Zone. That was half a year ago now.
Hey, what do you want to say? Where you been?
But today, at long last, I'm finally back to cover the second of the Dragon Ball Z movies, which is World's Strongest. Now, after watching Dead Zone, my overall opinion was that the movie was genuinely decent and I'd say underrated in the community. Now, I really wish I could say the same for World's Strongest, but if I'm honest, it's not talked about for a reason. This movie begins a lot like Dead Zone. We see Piccolo first as he's doing some training. However, his training in this movie is just him struggling to destroy ice, which I don't know how that really lines up with the power scale. Anyway, we cut to Gohan and Oolong, who are looking for the Dragon Balls, and as is obvious, Oolong is just the most responsible adult in the whole show. So he's enlisted Gohan to help him make a very, very questionable wish. However, unfortunately for Oolong's inappropriate hopes and dreams, the Dragon Balls have already been collected by a one-toothed old man who wishes for Dr. Wheelo to be released from the ice. But he does it in like a really ridiculously overcomplicated way. I don't know if that's just because the dub has to match the mouth flaps in the animation, but dude, you could have just said release him from the ice. You didn't need to go on this big ass speech. Anyway, Oolong and Gohan stumble across the defrosted lab and are approached by some Bio Warriors. Not to be confused with the Cybermen from the Saiyan Saga, who they definitely look nothing alike. They get attacked, but Piccolo shows up to rescue them, and he destroys one of the Bio Warriors the exact same way that he destroys one of the Cybermen in the Saiyan Saga, but of course there's no link there. Anyway, he gets interrupted and jumped again. We're 2 movies in, and Piccolo's been caught lacking twice, although I guess considering his ice level, it's not really that difficult. Gohan and Oolong wake up after being unconscious and quite literally just go home like nothing happened. Where did Piccolo go? Who knows? Where did the Cyber Bio Warriors go? Who knows? But hey, who cares? Chi-Chi's rightfully kind of concerned that a child's been missing for a couple of days and just refuses to tell her what happened. We then get another trippy ass Gohan scene. There was one in the last movie where he eats the fruit and he starts tripping balls and he gets chased around Galick Jr.'s mansion. This one is just him dreaming about Piccolo. I don't really think it adds much to the movie. It's just a bit weird.
My precious little boy's becoming a lazy delinquent before my very own eyes.
We then cut to Roshi's house where Oolong has to cook dinner because he lost the dragon radar. And he's there with Bulma. And I just want to make a point of saying right now, for some reason in this movie, or in the dub of this movie anyway, Bulma's dialogue is pretty awful. I don't know what it's like in the sub, but her lines in this movie are they're just straight up goofy at times and kind of takes me out of the movie. Although I do also want to point out, one highlight for me in this movie is Krillin's lines. Krillin's hilarious in this movie. Anyway, back at Roshi's house, the Cyber Android Bio Warriors, they show up and they demand that Roshi comes with them. But he refuses, and honestly, to my surprise, he actually rocks their shit and only ends up going with them because they take Bulma hostage and he's forced to. And then, of course, Gohan and Oolong have to come clean about their little adventure, and Goku sets off to rescue them. Then we cut to the big creepy evil lab where the creepy old dude has Bulma chained up on a pedestal, and he decides that he's going to test Roshi's reputation by getting his
Bio Warriors
to fight him. Surprisingly, again, Roshi actually holds his own for a little bit, but then he tries to pull off a Kamehameha, and it gets deflected back at him. The creepy old dude then hits Bulma with a massive exposition dump, and this is where her kind of awful dialogue comes in, because she just kind of lists off exposition, and it sounds like really silly and disingenuous, and this is what I meant by it kind of just taking me out of the movie. It's just like dumped on you, and it's kind of stupid.
I studied you two back in school. You were responsible for the controversial biotechnical experiments at the beginning of the new millennium.
I'm quite impressed, Bulma. That's correct.
Wait, but you can't possibly still be alive. I read that while on a research mission in the Zoomite Zubri Mountains, you fell victim to a tremendous avalanche that engulfed you in ice.
Dr. Wheelo's also fully shown here finally, and he's legit just a giant creepy brain inside of a huge container. Goku arrives, and he's faced with the Bio Warrior that has the rubbery ability. He also has to dodge a bunch of spiky drone balls, which you just blast them all to oblivion. And then to defeat the rubber guy, he doesn't really come up with any overcomplicated strategy. He just absolutely brute forces it and literally just goes Kaioken and bursts through him. So I guess he was more of a balloon than a rubber guy. Goku then encounters the other two, who also have some decently unique abilities. He puts up a decent fight until he gets electrocuted by the green one. And by the way, no, I don't have their names memorized. 1, because their names are difficult as hell to remember, and 2, because who cares? Anyway, Goku gets electrocuted, which results in quite possibly the most memorable thing in this entire movie, which isn't saying much, I guess, but it's this frame of him screaming, but his jaw is straight up unhinging. It looks ridiculous, but I think it's hilarious. The other minion then shows off his ice ability, which hits Goku and makes him immobile, because Goku is also apparently ice level. But I mean, if Piccolo is his rival and he's also ice level, I guess that makes sense. I really need to stop questioning the logic of this movie, because there's also a giant brain trying to take over the planet, and I'm concerned about whether or not Goku should be able to move when he gets frozen. Krillin and Gohan show up to save the day. They manage to deflect like one attack before the green dude grows freaking wires out of his arms and electrocutes them both. They get wombo comboed and then frozen solid, which means Goku finally decides to do what he should have just done from the start. He goes Kaioken and breaks himself out of the ice. Why does it take Kaioken to break himself out of ice? I don't know. Anyway, he makes short work above the Bio Warriors. He frees Krillin and Gohan, and then they make their way inside to face Dr. Wheelo in the final act of the movie. Goku finally gets face-to-face with this movie's main antagonist, and we get another stupid exposition dump and some horrendous dialogue from Bulma. Dr. Kochin, which I think is how you say this guy's name, starts glazing the shit out of Dr. Wheelo for like the 50th time in this movie.
Do not speak that way about the greatest scientific mind in history!
You're both nuts!
And then after hearing that Dr. Wheelo is the giant brain being kept alive, Krillin quite possibly drops the best line in this whole movie.
Well, what? Is he plugged into the wall or something?
Goku gets ambushed by some wires, and right as he does, Piccolo pulls up looking like he's prime Snoop Dogg. Goku frees himself from the wires, and then him and Fried Piccolo start going at it. Seeing Goku and Piccolo fight in these earlier movies is so cool. I kind of wish we got to see more Goku versus Piccolo later in the story, but of course, the role of Goku's rival was slowly handed over to Vegeta. Either way, this fight is really cool. While that's happening, Dr. Kochin decides to start rage baiting Gohan for no reason, which causes Gohan to absolutely lose it. He also just has a machine gun for a hand and starts unloading on Krillin, but Roshi manages to one-shot him, which means he's done more than Krillin in this movie. Also, I kind of forgot to mention, the reason Piccolo looks so fried is because he's under mind control. I don't know how I forgot to mention that, but yeah, that's why he starts fighting Goku, because he was put under mind control. But anyway, after they fight for a little bit, he gets freed from his mind control, but the ensuing chaos kind of causes Dr. Wheelo to reveal his robot body, and it creates so much destruction that Dr. Kochin manages to fall down somewhere, and he's zapped by the power source that I presume gives Wheelo his power. But this reveals that he's been a robot the whole time, which legit means that Dr. Wheelo made a robot and coded it to glaze the shit out of him. I find that completely hilarious. Now that Wheelo's full robot body has been revealed, Piccolo tries getting his get back, but he gets absolutely whooped. And then Wheelo also brushes off a trio Kamehameha from Roshi, Goku, and Krillin. Goku and Piccolo start to actually take Wheelo seriously, and Goku manages to trip him up with the power pole. Piccolo starts blasting the fuck out of him, but it does absolutely nothing. Wheelo just charges through all the smoke. Goku goes Kaioken to try and even the odds, and the two have a beam struggle, which definitely is not what happens in the Saiyan Saga. Goku uses Kaioken to overpower Wheelo and blasts him into space. But, what's this? Wheelo survives the beam struggle, kinda like Vegeta. Anyway, Goku resorts to the Spirit Bomb, but Wheelo is not about to let that shit land. Gohan and Piccolo manage to hold him off long enough, and, well, Krillin tries to help at least, but Wheelo still manages to fire a blast. Luckily, the Spirit Bomb is ready just in time, and in a genuinely cool visual, we see the Spirit Bomb tear through Wheelo's blast and completely eradicate him.
Damn you, Goku!
Okay, so The World's Strongest. What are my thoughts? I definitely don't dislike it, especially as a Dragon Ball fan. I really enjoy the aesthetic of these older movies and the kind of simplistic yet effective storytelling that a lot of them have. Overall, though, I think that World's Strongest is on the weaker side, even just compared to the other Dragon Ball movies. There isn't really anything super memorable going on here, and while I suppose you could say the same thing for Dead Zone, I feel that movie still does a better job than this one. That could be to do with how the plot to this movie feels like complete filler and how quickly the final act is over. Dr. Wheelo never really comes across as a threat, and as a result, the end doesn't really create much tension or hold much weight. This feels like such a major issue to me because what most of these Dragon Ball movies rely on is having interesting or exciting villains that make up for the basic plot. The issue here is that I don't think Wheelo fills those shoes very effectively, and I don't think that Kotchin is really a very exciting sub-villain, especially when you compare these guys to the antagonists of later movies that follow a similar formula, such as Cooler or Broly. And don't get me started on the exposition dumps and Bulma's awful dialogue in this movie. Positives though, of course all of these movies are just like, they have beautiful animation, scenery is amazing, the fights are always pretty good, the minion fights in this movie are good. The final fight, while it's short, it's still obviously impressive. I really liked Goku versus Piccolo. It's cool seeing that dynamic that Goku and Piccolo have as rivals before obviously Vegeta takes that role. I really loved Krillin every time he was on screen. I think his lines in this movie are hilarious. I've already mentioned that though. I think making Roshi sort of the center of the plot for a lot of this movie was really good. If only he'd had a little more screen time, I think that would have been, that would have made the movie better. If I had to give it a score, I'd probably settle for something like a 5.5 or 6 out of 10. It's nothing special, but it's a decent enough movie that you'll enjoy if you're a Dragon Ball fan. If you enjoy Dragon Ball, you'll be able to enjoy this movie, but it's not going to be one that you're recommending to everybody. It's not going to be your favorite. It's just sort of there. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Dragon Ball Z: The World's Strongest. It's the second of the long list of Dragon Ball movies that I'm hopefully going to be covering on this channel. I'm planning to make a whole series, where I cover all the movies from Z and then the 2 movies from Super as well. And once I've covered them all, I'll make one video ranking them all from worst to best, in my opinion. I've already covered Dead Zone, which is the first Dragon Ball Z movie. So if you haven't seen that video already, it'd be cool if you could go check it out. Even if I did make it a little while ago now. That's about it. But before I end the video, I just want to say, if you've made it this far in, I really appreciate you. And if you're new, maybe consider subscribing. It genuinely means the world to me. Doing this is what I want to do, but I mean, obviously, if you've been here for a while, you'll know that my upload schedule is subpar, but I've been told to stop mentioning it at the end of every video because the gap in between each video is so massive that I seem to bring it up every single video. But just at the core, it's just kind of a loss of motivation and things getting in the way of me making videos. Going forward though, I'm hoping to cover all of the movies throughout the rest of this year, and I really want to focus on improving the quality of my videos, whether that be the editing or the structure or anything in between really. And of course, if you have any suggestions for future videos, please leave them in the comments, whether that be ideas or things that should change by my videos. I'll be sure to make note of them and hopefully deliver on what you guys would like to see. That's about it for today though. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and bye.